This is a hardy kiwi plant, also known as the kiwi berry. Kiwi berries are like mini kiwi fruit, only growing to about 1.5 inches long. They are described as juicy and fun to snack on, and apparently they taste just about the same as the larger, fuzzy kiwis that you typically find in the store. The major difference between kiwi berries and the typical kiwi fruit is that the berries have a smooth green skin instead of a fuzzy skin, so you can eat the whole thing like a grape and still get the same great taste. Now, one of the reasons I don't buy kiwis often from the store, aside from the expense, is that it's time-consuming to peel off the skin, so these are an improvement in my opinion. I'm in Zone 6A in the Midwest, and this plant can tolerate zones 4 to 8, much colder than your traditional store kiwi. So it should do well in my area, and it should do well for you too if you live in a colder zone. They are supposed to survive down to at least -25 degrees Fahrenheit. This kiwi plant right here is 1 year old. I found it at Lowe's. It was on my list of one of the plants I was hoping to find and plant. So if you, like me, are also going to plant a delicious kiwi berry plant, be sure to find a mostly sunny spot with well-drained soil. It will probably do alright in partial shade, but full sun is ideal. And the plants can thrive in a variety of different soil types. Soak the plant in water for a few minutes prior to planting. Keep in mind, this is not a tree. These plants are vining, and they get huge. You want to give these things 8 to 10 feet of space per plant. They spread quite a bit and need something to climb, whether it's a sturdy trellis, a fence, a shed, or a large tree. I'm putting this right next to an old lean-to chicken coop with the assumption that the plant will eventually climb up the chicken wire and onto the roof, giving it plenty of room to spread. So you can use whatever large structures you have on your own property or rig up your own sort of trellis. Now I am planting this a little early, so I may have to cover it to keep it warm if any nights get below freezing. Since, as you can see, it is no longer dormant and the leaves are growing since it was just inside the store. This variety I'm planting, called Prolific, is self-pollinating, so hopefully that rings true, because it seems like a lot of kiwi berry plants are not self-pollinating and do need a male plant for pollination of the female fruiting plants. The male plants themselves do not produce any fruit. So make sure you do your research and know whether or not your plant variety is self-pollinating. And honestly, it's been said that a self-pollinating plant like this would probably still benefit from a male because it would help it produce more fruit. But this is what I have, this is what the store had, so I'll see what it produces someday. Dig a bigger hole than you need. This plant is tiny. Look at these roots here. There's not much to it. I went a little overboard with the hole, but more is better than less. You want the soil to be loosened so it's easier for the young roots to spread. Spread the roots out a little when you put them in the ground, especially if they're starting to circle around. So I spread out mine the best I could. There really wasn't much to spread out since it's such a tiny little plant right now. Make sure to bury it right above the root ball so that the roots are buried but not too much of the plant is buried. And be sure to pat down the soil a bit so it doesn't just sink once the soil has settled. Water some before you bury it so the water goes straight to the roots. And keep the soil moist until the plant is well established. I totally forgot to put the rest of the dirt from the package in the hole, but it's probably helpful if you do supplement the soil with the dirt the tree came in. Mine will probably do just fine anyway, but it would have probably been helpful. Be sure to add some sort of mulch like straw, wood chips, or leaves, etc. around the plant so that the soil stays moist for longer. Don't put the mulch right up against the plant, give it some space to breathe. Instead, form a donut around the plant. These plants are relatively disease and pest-free, so you don't really have to worry about them that much. The flowers bloom in the early summer, and they fruit in the fall. Now this package says the plant averages 20 to 25 feet. I don't know if that refers to height, width, or area, but a website that sells these says their height is 10 to 12 feet on average, so I'm not sure who to believe on how big this will get, but I'm going to go with it gets really big and give it plenty of space to spread. The typical bearing age for this plant is said to be anywhere from 1 to 3 years, but I've heard it can take even longer, so don't expect fruit anytime soon. This plant apparently produces blooms and fruit on last year's wood, so make sure you don't prune all of the previous year's growth if you do expect to harvest fruit. When your plant does finally produce some delicious berries, harvest them when the berry feels soft to the touch. And enjoy!